Hey everybody, good evening. We are in week 8. It is a cold and rainy night out there. It's kind of gross. So thank you for coming to class. Thank you for showing up to the Zoom folks. Hope you are nice and warm wherever we are. It's pretty comfortable right here in the building. I'm trying something a little different with the Zoom tonight. Because we'll be mobbing tonight, it occurred to me that the room microphones might pick up sort of the discussions that we have a lot better. I probably should have been doing this all along because, who knows how many insightful conversations we've had. We're going to get to hear my contribution to it. So the dumb part. And so then as a result, you're probably seeing me at a different angle because you can connect the room to a Zoom. The interesting thing that you can't do is you can't project like the Zoom. That's supposed to be my laptop. So anyway, but I think it'll work well for class tonight. Because tonight we're gonna be doing mob programming. That's gonna be pretty much the focus of tonight's experience. And so we'll start off with Prime Minister's questions as always, and then we'll do an introduction to mob programming. It'll be a lot like the introduction to the pair programming in that we'll start off with an operating theater exercise where I join the mob and I help the mob work on the kata. And then the second half of class will be an individual there'll be two mobs. There'll be a mob here in the classroom, and there'll be a mob that's remote. Looks like we're getting just the right amount of people in both, so that we can have some good mobbing going on. So awesome. Looking at the syllabus, boy, it's I guess we still have almost another month to go. It's 4 more weeks. Well, I guess including tonight, so it's only 3 more weeks. But we got some interesting stuff coming up. So Project 4 was due tonight. That is sort of the last of the command line projects that you'll have to work with. And as we saw, a couple of weeks ago, Project 5 is quite different. And so then I'm happy to take questions about Project 4 or Project 5. Next week, we'll spend the first half of class learning all about Android. And this really is the last big thing in the course. And so then next week we'll be getting our environment set up. Actually, I might do that since that's pretty eyes forward. I might just create a screencast for that over the weekend and then ask you all to make sure you can get Android Studio installed on your laptops so that next week in class we can have a very interactive a demonstration of how to use Android Studio and how to begin writing an Android application. So that'll be really cool. And then we'll have mob programming this week, next week, and the week after. And just like the pair programming, there are 3 opportunities to mob, and you're required to go to 2 of them. You can go to all 3 if you like. And one of those 2 can be remote. Actually, probably one of them will have to be remote because one of the things I realized is that this classroom is not set up to have more than 1 mob. When I've done mob programming in the past, I was in Fab 10, which is, if you haven't been in, it's this really nice classroom that's super big, and it has these the projectors around the perimeter of the room. I think there were like 4, maybe even 5 stations there, just perfect for mobbing. I wasn't able to get that this term. I'll have to again for next time. Well, if I'm invited back to teach. But anyway, luckily the class is nice and small, and so then we'll be able to easily divide into 2 mobs, one here in the classroom, one remote. And if you're remote tonight, please consider coming to the class next week so that you can experience mobbing in person and compare and contrast the 2. Both styles of mobbing are valid, but each has pros and cons. Okay, so Prime Minister's questions. What can I tell you? How's your week been? How did Project 4 go? How did it compare to the other projects that you've been? I'm just curious about what your experiences are, and if there are any questions left over, or any feedback that you would provide. No. But easier, but still took a long time, and probably more confident. Well, that's good, right? That means you're learning, and that's sort of the intent that the Project 4, and in many ways is a variation on Project 2, right? If you're just writing to a file, but oh my gosh, you're using a completely different API, right? You're using that document object model, you're using this kind of crunchy dated set of classes to do it, which is all part of the exercise and all part of the learning. But yeah, it sounds like many of you, once understood the concepts, it was relatively straightforward. Great. Yeah. Yes, converter is supposed to have its own name. Yep. Yes, yeah, and so that was, yeah, and sorry, I didn't really maybe I didn't convey that strongly enough in the assignment, because there were a couple of questions about that, both in terms of how to run it, but then also, oh, is there a main method? Yes, you've probably never had two main methods in your program before. It's a completely valid thing to do in Java, right? It's very different from C, where there's one main function in your program, because in C you can't have two functions with the same name. But yeah, in Java, it's quite common, in amongst all your classes, to have a couple of classes with main methods. Yep. Well, good. Glad you already had it working. Yeah, I suppose it could be. Nah. So I want to have it separate. Nice. Okay. Excellent. Anything else on project 4? Anything surprise you? Anybody had a chance to look at project 5 yet? Anything I can answer there? I think we all know it's very different. I highly encourage you, if not request, that you take a look at that screencast that I put out over the weekend. After last week's refactoring, I realized that it would be really effective to apply some of those refactoring techniques to that dictionary application and to begin to morph it into the appointment book application. So as you're breaking, we all went through the exercise a couple weeks ago where we created the appointment book web Maven project and sort of saw the pieces parts and got to see how the servlet works and all that good stuff. How to use Mockito to test it all. But it was against that dictionary application. And even though you learn about refactoring, and even though you're really familiar with the appointment book classes and stuff, you can have a lift to go from the dictionary to the appointment book. So please consult please watch the screencast. And I push all the code up to GitHub. And so then hey, it's fair game. So if you just want to take that as your starting point, right? Nothing wrong with that. It'll probably save you some time. Although it would be a good learning experience to apply the same refactorings that I did. But if you find yourself spending more than 2 hours on it, well, that was weird. 2 hours on it. Then just copy the code and get started. Because project 5 is due next week. Please check in during the week. Because I understand the reality is a lot of people haven't started it yet. And the intent is that that's a 2-week project. We've had to accelerate things. I don't want to shortchange your experience with Android. But on the other hand, I want to make sure that you have enough time to do project 5. So please reach out when you have questions. And maybe on Monday evening or Tuesday, check in with me, especially if you're feeling that you haven't made the progress that you want to make. Okay. Anything else? The Prime Minister's questions before we dive in. Awesome. So Marvin, Ensemble Programming. Actually, let me sorry. Okay, here is the worksheet handout. I don't know what to call it, mimeograph for tonight. Okay, so earlier in the course we experienced pair programming, right? We had 2 people at a keyboard, and we learned about some of the philosophy, some of the techniques for pairing. we learned that there were these two roles, the driver and the navigator. And by having just enough structure, it allows you to work very effectively with somebody else as you're both encountering problems, as you're both exploring solutions. And it was a great fit for test-driven development, right? Having one person focus on the tests and where you're going, and the other person focusing on the implementation. And then we had these things like switching roles every few minutes and working in these time boxes to help you sustain your energy, to make sure that no one person in the pair either dominates or feels left behind, or it gets tired out because they're just focusing in a certain way. In the second half of the course, so tonight and for the 2 weeks after that, we will work with mob programming, which is also known as ensemble programming. Mob, of course, doesn't have a terribly good connotation, but it's one syllable, it's easy to say. So, I often find myself when I speak, I say mob programming, but when I think of it as an ensemble, in that, you're not there attacking somebody else, and you're not, angry with your pitchforks and stuff. You're working together to, make a nice symphony or a jazz combo or something like that. So in mob programming, and I hope you've had an opportunity to review the slides or watch the screencasts. In mob programming, it's an extension, an evolution of pair programming. In mob programming, you have an entire team focus on a problem, all looking at the same screen, or at least seeing the same thing, and rallying around the solution to a problem. So much like we with pair programming, we'll do some pair programming tonight. And so let's see here. I said breakout rooms. I originally did this when we were all remote. But yeah, there'll be one breakout room for the people who are remote to work in. I think there were like 4 people who are on Zoom. So that'll make a nice mob. And then everybody else here in the classroom, I figure what we can do is we probably want to come a little bit closer together, closer to the screen. Although if you can't see it, that's fine. But and then we'll work at the screen. And we'll use Zoom to share our laptops. Looks like everybody has a laptop. Awesome, cool. And as always, we'll use the Portland State Java Kata's Winter 2024 GitHub repository to share our code to push things back and forth. So here's how tonight will be structured. I'll give an overview of what mob ensemble programming is all about. Then we will we'll do that operating theater exercise where I participate in the mob, and the mob can be for this operating theater. If people who are remote want to participate in that, it's open to you. You can do it on Zoom, and other people will work here in the classroom. I'm looking for 6 volunteers. There's going to be everybody. Then we'll spend the second half of class working on a different kata in mobs. One mob here in the classroom. I think we have just the right amount of people. And then another mob who is remote, and we'll do the same thing of again collaborating using this GitHub repository, and then we'll end with a little reflection about what it is that we learned. So pretty similar to what we did with programming. So just to set the stage, mob programming, I really like their motto. It's all the brilliant minds working together on the same thing at the same time in the same space at the same computer, and this really captures the spirit of what mob programming is. It's not meant to be one person lecturing to everybody else. Doing that right now. It's meant to be really a team of peers, even if those peers are have different levels of knowledge. Working together to solve a problem in a common and understandable and sustainable way. But one of the interesting things is that because it's larger than a pair, there's a lot more human dynamics involved, and because of that, it's evolved, I would say, a slightly richer set of principles, and it's a little bit more contemporary in its attitudes and really what it's trying to go for. So, as I talked about in the lecture, there are roles in mobbing. There's you have the same roles as pairing. You have a driver and a navigator. Right? Someone's got to be at the keyboard. It's not a free for all with everybody typing at the same time, because that gets really unruly really quick, and it's hard to keep code compiling. And I like the way that the mob programming people talk about the role of the driver. The driver is the intelligent input device, meaning that like their role, they're in the moment. And remember, you switch roles because it's not an always forever thing. But really, they're like, the person that listens to what someone else is saying and then types it into the keyboard. Now, not literally like one character at a time, but the driver will prompt for things like, hey, what kind of text should I write? Or okay, what should the name of that method be? And then they'll type it. Now, the navigator performs a similar role to the navigator. The navigator in mob programming performs a similar role to navigator in pair programming. So, this is the person that sort of sends signals, sends ideas to the driver. But here, instead of all the ideas just coming from their own brain, the navigator really channels the ideas from the mob, to the driver. And so you have this kind of interesting dynamic where the driver listens only to the navigator, but the navigator takes the entire viewpoint and the ideas from the rest of the mob. And also the navigator has to do a little bit of facilitation, in making sure that all voices are heard. And because very oftentimes, there'll be somebody who's sitting there and like is looking at the problem and has this deep understanding, but doesn't necessarily articulate in the moment. They don't feel comfortable doing so. Maybe they're just not sure. Maybe like the words haven't formed. And so then a very effective navigator, listens to the crowd and sort of, gets some good ideas and then, funnels that to the driver to do some typing. And then the other role, which is the role that's held by everybody else in the mob, who's not the driver, who's not the navigator, is called the mobber, whatever, just someone else in the mob. And what they do is they inform what the navigator should advise the driver. And so then sometimes a mobber will do some research. So other times they'll do things like record design decisions, or maintain some documentation about why things are or how things are. If you watch the slides, there are all sorts of different roles and stuff. And for the mobbing experience in this in this course, especially tonight, the first time, don't worry about playing a particular role like anthropologist or traffic cop. But maybe keep in mind some of the things they can contribute and some of the mindsets that the different roles, the more advanced or refined roles can take on. So some things that I'd like you to keep in mind while we are ensembling tonight. Just like in pair programming, the navigator is encouraged to actually be most effective when the navigator speaks at a level of abstraction which is sort of the right one for the driver. So hey, I've been in mobs where the absolute right thing to do is to tell the driver what keys to press, because hey, if you're not familiar with language syntax, or if you're working like in a or with an API where it's not clear what to type, sometimes that's a program. But more often, and I would hope tonight that the people who are navigators would say things like, okay, well, let's create a test named this. Or okay, how about we add a method here, or loop over this array, right? Those kinds of things where presumably someone who's been working with the Java for 8 weeks can type that pretty easily. Mob programming states its values as kindness, consideration, and respect, and it's true. This is essential to mob programming. It's an interdependent unit. And it's not just one person doing it, or it's not just like two people who are like ganging up in the world, or or one person where that is at a power dynamic loss to somebody else. We all start from a place of equality, and but we realize that we're all individuals. We all come up with different experiences, points of view, and so then by being deliberate about the words that we use, about how we consider the input of others, especially when you're that navigator, is totally essential. And another thing that's emphasized in ensemble programming is looking for those gems of ideas that come from the people who maybe are quiet, or maybe, in the crowd in the mob don't have the same amount of privilege. Hey, here we're all students, you'll have comparable levels of experience. But one of the things you use professionally is that you've got, person who's been doing it 20 years and has a senior title and, is driving the BMW and everything like that. And then you've got, the intern. Well, guess what? In the mob, the intern can have really great ideas because the intern sees things differently or has a different set of perspective of experiences to bring. And again, the mob is most effective when everybody has an opportunity to voice their thoughts, to make a contribution, and it's really up to the navigator to figure out, okay, how to meld that, where to go in. And then sometimes when they say, okay, yep, that's hey, it might sound like a good idea, but let's try this other way first. It's always, and the nice thing about a mob is that a mobber, I think that kind of interaction can be a good cue for the mobber. Just make a little note for later. It's like, oh yeah, let's try this other approach. It's like, oh yeah, we want to refactor that. Okay, not right now. Yeah, we'll make a little list of refactorings that we can do. There is a lot of really good information out there about mob and ensemble programming, beyond what I've put out there. If you're curious about this, and I encourage you to, after the course is over, do a little bit more background exploration, because there's some really interesting perspectives out there. This wasn't, mob programming wasn't invented in a lab or in a classroom. These were people doing it for real, that realized that, hey, listen, pair programming worked well, but when people joined in, we got a better result. And let's see here also. Oh, I'm also a big fan of the Mob Mentality Show, which is a podcast by Chris Lucian and Austin Chadwick, who are two big proponents of mobbers among some of the earlier mobbers. And it goes way beyond mob programming. It's really the whole software ecosystem. There's a lot of topics in agile software development. They've had people whose books I've referenced on here. It's really great. So anyway, here are some other resources that I recommend that you do. Any thoughts, comments, questions about mob programming before we dive into an exercise?
It reminds me of there's actually a pretty popular mediation. Work on the game.
Yes, that is interesting. Yeah, I can imagine. I don't want to switch, but yeah, it's the whole idea of doing your work out in the open, which, to be honest, requires a lot of vulnerability, right? I mean, you see me. Remember last week where I spent a half an hour, finding a bug in a for loop. I still feel dumb about that, but I won't make that mistake again. Or well, if I do, I'll remember. I'll think of next time how to test better. And so it's true, and I think it's it's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people are reluctant to work like this, because your work is exposed in real time. So it's not even like a code review, because everybody knows code review is usually like your best work. I think this is ready to go. This is the best I could do. Here you're kind of seeing how the how the stew is made, how how I made that spill, or like, oh, it's splattered all over the place, got to clean up afterwards. But it can be really effective to have that real-time feedback and have the other set of eyes on it. So yeah, that's something that we'll experiment with tonight. Thanks for sharing that observation. Okay. So we'll start off. Good, timing is good. Almost 6 o'clock. We'll start by doing an operating theater exercise, and so then what I would we'll be doing a kata that scores a game of tennis, and we'll use that Pomodoro technique where we work in these little time boxes to do the kata as a mob. And so then here's what we'll do. I'll start off. So there'll be 7 of us in the mob, 6 of you and me. I'll start off as the initial navigator, so I'll sort of get people started. I'll ask for volunteers first. Will be the first driver there. Hands. And so then we'll have a time box of 9 minutes. The first 7 will be developing as an ensemble. We'll all be there. And then we'll have a 2-minute reflection on what we saw. Again, this sort of the cycle of working and then, really thinking and talking about what our observations were. And we'll also have some people who aren't in the mob that can also provide feedback and observations during that reflection. We'll make a note of anything that we want to do differently in the next rotation, and then we'll go again. So the designator, it is a mob navigator, will go and be a mobber. And then the driver becomes the next designated navigator. And I say designated because, I mean, in some respects, the rest of the mobbers are also navigators. But really, designated navigator is the person that the driver listens to. And the next person on the list becomes the new driver. And we'll go from there. Instead of using code with me, let's just do the push-pull to GitHub. I think we've gotten pretty used to it by now. So while I introduce the kata, I encourage anybody who's interested to go to the kata's repository, get the latest changes, and then in there's a tennis project that I created, and there in the pom.xml, we'll have an opportunity to please sign up with your name. I don't know, sort of start in a random place because there might be conflicts and stuff. But yeah, sign up here, and that's how you can indicate that you want to be part of this operating theater exercise. And I greatly appreciate it. Delivery service, nice. Okay. So yeah, please sign up if you'd like to participate. In the meantime, talk about kata. So the tennis kata, it's a pretty famous kata, and basically what you're doing is scoring a game of tennis. For those of you who might not be familiar with tennis or haven't watched it in a long time, here's how it works. There are 2 players, and when a player scores a point, the number of points goes through this this sequence. You start out with 0, and then the first time that you score, you go to 15, then the 30, and then to 40. And if you get to 40, then you win the game. But if if you have 40 and you score, then you win the game. But if both players end up having 40, you're at a position called deuce. And then let's see here, we're have advantage. So if so then if you're both at 40 and you have then you score next, then you win the game. And if not, then you're back at deuce. Okay, yeah, here's another one that describes it again. Oh, and I forgot to point out that like 0, you start out if you haven't scored yet, you don't have 0 points, you have load, which is the name of it. So then really the whole idea of this kata here is to model a game of tennis. And as a particular player wins a play, shoot, what's it called? a round. Does anybody here play tennis and know the right terminology? Here, set match. Well, it's like one serve. And if the person doesn't return it, if the opponent doesn't return it, they win the serve. Maybe it's the right thing. We'll have to talk about this in a mob, right? We'll need to come up with the right terminology. Anyway, and so then we go and we'll need to implement enough of it and sort of figure out what the scenarios are for us to then model a game of tennis as a Java program. Question in the chat. It's one game. Enough games makes a set. Right, but yeah, we're playing like one game. It's like, what's a volley? Oh gosh, you think I should know? I should know these things, but anyway, we'll figure it out as the mob. So then, any questions for my terrible introduction to the game of tennis? I will pull down some changes here. Nice. We got some people. We're looking for 3 more. And again, feel free if you're on the Zoom, if you are remote, It'd be great to have you as part of this. Feel free to participate. And so if you are going to participate, please join Zoom if you haven't already. I just want to check on that. Because I figure what we can do is you can share your screen. Yes, that will when you're the driver. So yeah, so when you're the driver, that way, I mean, you're not like typing on somebody else's keyboard, right? I'm still not ready for that. Yeah, like, looking for someone to be the first driver. Time walking. So only John and Cameron want to mob. We can do a mob of 3. I'll have slightly different dynamics, but we'll give it a try. Maybe other people will join once they see how much fun it is. I don't know. Oh yeah, did I? Cool. I don't. It says all files are up to date. I'm on main. Did you try to? Are you on the right branch? And I'll go check on GitHub too. This map got blown away. That's okay. Stranger things happen. Oops. Well, cool. Let's hey, wait, did someone just blow everything away? It's okay. Nope. Awesome. Let me just go back in time here a little bit. Oh, it's okay, Sharon. You can as atonement, you could join the mob. Let's just go back and look. Well, right, this is the cool thing about GitHub. We can just go back and everything's there in the history. And so then I'll just recover all this stuff. So let's see here. This is where we are right now. We can just go back in history. So now I'm doing this quick little lesson in Git. Here. Okay, so yeah, Cameron is her. And then let's see here. I will probably I just want to look at it at this revision, which I never remember how to do. File, add that revision, and then John or number 2. There's anybody committed in the meantime? Nope. So Sharon, you want to be number 3? Thank you. And then Ben, are you also? Yep. Oh, Sharon. Okay. So can you want to be number 1? Start out driving. It's okay. Nice. And cool. Okay, awesome. I think we've got our mob. This will be good. Okay. Oops. Okay. So Ben, since you're the first driver, would you mind sharing your screen? And oh, sorry, geez, yeah, saw your name there, didn't let you. Yeah, and when you join, please don't join with audio, otherwise there'll be all sorts of feedback and stuff. Well, let's try that. And yeah, so how about you share your screen? We can get you started. Yeah, make sure your git checkout is in a good state. Oh, that is super tiny on my screen. Let me make it full screen. Nice, and what's immersive mean? Ah, okay, never mind. So, all right, how do I get rid of the standard there? Let's make it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so yeah, looks like we're all good. Excellent. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do first. Maybe before we start typing, one of the things that my big learning this term when it comes to like pairing and mobbing is let's spend a couple of minutes just talking about it. And so then Sharon, you're part of the mob, so feel free to chime in too. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock. How do we want to get started on this? What are some of the key concepts and stuff that we need to do and take care of? Yeah, feel free to consult the kata, the description of tennis and everything like that. Oh, I in the Slack I put in a link to the doc, that Word doc, and there's a link to it. Now you have to scroll down to like that middle section there where I talk about the kata. Sorry, yeah, I went through that pretty fast. Yeah. So yeah, it's like what are like the key concepts in this kata that I think we have to model, right? Like what are the classes we'll have to write, or what are the methods, the functions that we'll have to write?
Let's keep score of the tennis here.
Okay, yeah. So there's got to be a score, I guess. Yeah.
I'm guessing, thinking like the program would work like just have maybe you just wait for input like a.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Something and then it's running, you put in one person gets a point, two other person gets a point.
Oh right, there's this whole concept of like who won the volley, right? Yeah. So like I guess you need to know who was. Yeah, I guess yeah, you're right. Each volley doesn't have necessarily a winner. I guess the score only increases if the person who is serving, or rather the person who's receiving, doesn't return it. So it's like there's this concept of like who is serving and then who and did that person win the point, or did the server not return it and therefore the other player has the serve? Okay, yeah, right. So I guess it's like who is serving, and then the combination of who's serving, which player is serving, and did they win? And did they win? Yeah, we'll say win the point. Then their point increases. Okay, good. So we're sort of talking about what we need. So it sounds like yeah, there's a concept of player, and when there's two players, but there's a concept of like who is serving, which player is serving, and then there is the volley, the play. I don't know what do you call it, right? That occurs, and then there's an outcome to that, which is yeah, who returned it. Okay.
Do we have to like simulate the volley, like with a random number generator, or?
No, let's not. That's a good question. I think that's a little overkill. I don't know what others think.
So we could just take from the command line like one, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, well, we can try reading that from the command line, but it'll be easier, let's think about like what tests we should write. And we can probably, write just the code easier than trying to read it from the command line and spend, lots of time doing that. Or from a file or something like that, yeah, just write some code. Okay. So then, yeah, so let's say there's concepts like a player and like a game,
So
Yeah.
there's only one set, right? So it has to be one of these four inputs for the score, can be anything else.
right, yeah, so I guess just goes,
Test to make sure,
sorry?
make sure that, we can make sure the input is one of those four.
Oh, yeah, right, we can validate it that way, yeah, that'll be good. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks, Sharon, yeah, so that having the score increase from love to 15 to 30 to 40, right, I think, yeah, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, right, and so, oh, yeah, remember like Uncle Bob in that video that we watched where we did the bowling game? I wonder if this is similar, where it's like you start out and like, 'cause I was about to ask, what's our first test? And so like, maybe that's where we go, where we sort of have like the degenerate game of like, one player dominates. And then like, what does that look like? Let me do that. Okay. Nice. Okay. Are we ready to get started? Let's do that. Okay, Ben. So thanks. So I'm gonna put 7 minutes on the clock. So Mob, where should we start? What's that first test that we should write?
I guess we can validate from the command line. Input, it has to be like above 15, 30, or 40, right?
Well, yeah, but let's think about the objects that we want to write and the behaviors of the objects first. Let's write sort of the logic of it before we worry too much about the user interface to it.
I guess we need like a player class.
Okay. Yeah, and like what's the player do?
On the score.
Okay. Okay, yeah, cool. It'll be, serves.
It's kind of like key to score. Serve as a return.
Nice. Okay. So
I'm a
yeah.
little unclear of the rules of tennis, like,
Yeah.
do you have to serve to like score a point?
I believe so. Does that sound right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's kids they don't watch tennis. Okay. I watched tennis like it's like Andre Agassi played. We all had mullets and stuff. It was awesome. Geez, Brooke Shields. Anyway, sorry. Oh, really? Okay. Hey, Sharon, I think knows so that you can score even if you don't serve. Oh, really? Cool. I play a lot of pickleball. The rules are different.
That's pickleball.
Maybe we should have done pickleball instead because I'm old. Yes, it's not table tennis. Okay, awesome. Good. Okay, well, thanks for speaking up, Sharon. Okay, then it's good. Okay, great. So what is the first test then? So, but like, how does it start? So it's like, maybe we have a player and the player like wins their first serve. And so, not even more basic. It's like, hey, let's just start when you start a new, player starts a new game, the player has an initial score of love. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. So let's see here. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah. So Ben, yeah, it's nice. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah. So maybe we start out with a player class. Let's make a new player and yeah.
I feel like the player class should have a hint for the score and then maybe turn the score against.
Yeah, I like that. So
Player.
oh yeah, let's make a new class for that. And what I would recommend, probably the easiest way to do that is there in your test. Yep, in the test. Just type capital P player. And that can be, yep. There, awesome. And now so click on the little red light bulb to the top left there, yep. And then just say create class player, yep. And it'll prompt you to ask, I guess we can't see on the screen, it'll ask you where to create it. Please create it in source main Java. Is that one of the options? Awesome. Okay, cool. And so then do that. Nice. Here's our player. Okay. Yeah, now let's go back to the test. And before we write too much more here, let's write more of the test. So yeah, let's create a player called player. We want a variable name of like little p player. Yeah. Yeah, I'll create a new player there. Yep. Nice. Okay, and then let's see what its initial score will be love. So let's make an assertion. So yeah, let's assert that the player's score is love. That's okay. Oh, that's all right. Nice. You're asking. So right, we want the assert that method. So it's assert all one word, but with a capital T for that. Yep. And then it's a method. Yep. And then oh yeah, you'll need to import that. And so then, yep. Yes. Okay.
I guess the get score method should return string.
That's a good question. Wait, what should yeah, so let's have a player.get score and it's going to return, no, I like what you did there, right? I think that was fine. Say player dot, well, yeah, get score. And yeah, and how do we, oh, and sorry, yeah, before we get on there. Yeah, so that's a method. And let's create that method. Do you know how to create that method easily? All right, there, it's going, yep. And then, yeah, what do we want get score to return? How do we want to model that?
Just keep it as things and have it 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then main thing also. Or we do strings.
Strings, yep. Other options?
So the string way would be more encapsulated. You know, wouldn't have maybe handling methods that are part of player or whatever player just takes care of all that.
Hey Sharon, I know you're remote and that it's you have a different way of participating, but oh cool, it looks like you have posted something. But on this topic of how should we represent the score, do you have any thoughts or a point of view?
Yeah, it should be. I guess it'll be easier if we did integer. I don't know, instead of love.
I guess it would be easier to implement it as an int. Convert the int to a string. It's not well. I just like painting.
Because yeah, also because if it's a number, it's easy to compare.
True. Okay, yeah, let's go with a number then. Okay, go with an int. Ah, okay, great. And you're already creating, yep, that there, yeah, nice. And then yeah, return. Okay. And right now the get score method returns an object. You probably want that to return an int instead. Nice. Okay. So let's see, I noticed the test is still red. So yeah. So okay, yeah, you want to assert that, that is so equal to assert that actually takes 2 arguments. So you say comma, so please delete the double equal sign and say comma, yeah, equal to. So not equals, equal to. Yep, and that's a method. I think, yeah, until you put the friends there, it's not gonna realize the method. Yep, oh, there it is. Nice. Equal to. And either one of those is fine, either the hand pressed ones. Yep, all good. And equal to 0. Well, actually equal to love. So maybe we can talk about what? It's an int, yep.
So say 0 for now.
Yeah, say 0 for now. And let's run this real quick and okay, awesome, cool. Well, if you please commit that, thank you very much, Ben. Let's start our first 2-minute reflection. So, how's that? What do we observe? Let's start with the mob. What do we observe?
Everybody chiming in with their best knowledge. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm nervous about pair programming is I felt like it could become very athlete real quick and how bad you were at programming to your partner slash employer. But I feel like a mock programming is a good way.
Or observations from the mob?
It's nice to know other people that.
Yeah, more people bounce off of, yeah. Observations from people outside the mob. What you saw?
Sharon says hybrid's a little harder for mob.
Oh, yes, I agree. It's fine. I'm looking at the ceiling like you're, ascended to lofty heights or something like that. Or more calling Orson, come in Orson, working Mindy way before your time, I'm sure. Anyway. Cool. Okay. Oh yeah, man. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I like that interaction that we had around Hamcrest, and Ben, I really appreciate the fact that you called out like when you didn't know something. It's like, oh, I typed a cert, I got that far. What's next? Right. That's exactly like the effective behavior of a driver. When you say either like tell me what to do or like, hey, I don't know what's going on next. Okay. Awesome. Okay, then let's see here. I am going to step into the mob and like literally go over there. Who's the next driver?
I think I'm next, but I gotta use that.
Okay, so let's, Sharon, do you mind go next?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you. So yeah, if you just get on, so we are on the Zoom, obviously, and let's see here. And Ben, you're the next navigator. Would you like to step up and either if you sit here or if you want to be close to the screen, or whatever. Awesome. Ooh, I can sit down. So yeah, you can be the podium or you can just be up wherever. Forgot I have no distance vision anymore. Okay. So shut my Zoom. Okay. Sharon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Let's see, could you open up a tennis test? The
Yes.
test file.
Oh, the test file, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So I think the last problem that we kind of left off on is the score should be able to have love as a value. So I think we've got to figure out how to get that working. So I think we've got we have it as an int that can take 15, 30, or 40. But we somehow have to get a string working.
I think that's gonna come from main. I don't know if we should do that yet. I don't know.
Well, remember, like when we talked about refactoring last week, and we talked about like magic numbers. That 0 to me really seems like a magic number. I mean, it's true, right? It represents something that's, but it's like, the thing we want referred to it as love, not 0. So like the domain that we have is 0. So like here in our test, yeah, we really like that to read the test that we just wrote. And certain that player.score equal to love, right? And I think that's really what we want to be able to say, so we have a fluent language for our API. So what can we do there?
saying like if we have the value, like 0 can just be the integer equivalent of the string love, so we don't actually have to do anything complicated.
Well, yes, I mean, I think ultimately it'll be represented as a 0, but so that we have a more, we're not using fluent API, right? Yeah, we can have be something else. So, I mean, like, my idea would be to have a constant that is called, as a name love, that we would then use in the test instead of 0. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah. So like, so we have a constant string.
Well, I think the constant would be an int still, would be an int constant.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to remember if we saw this last week in the Gilded Rose refactoring or not, but like one of the refactorings is to introduce a constant for magic numbers.
Magic numbers. I'm a little confused. Like,
oh yeah, what a magic number is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you represent a concept using a primitive type like a string or a 0, when it's where it represents something, it's a code for something, I guess is a better word for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 0 is a code for love.
Gotcha.
That constant though, would it be in the test itself or would it be in the player class?
Oh, what do you think?
That's a player class.
Good question. Oh.
So we should put it in the player class, and then we can refactor our test. So you could make, Sharon, go ahead and do like a constant int, we can just call it love, maybe, and equals 0.
I'm doing this wrong.
Maybe like,
Is-
what's it in
does it need to
Java?
be
Is it
final?
Final or
Final.
final keyword before int?
Yeah. And static and final in Java. Could be public too, but yeah.
Static final int.
So I'm a little confused, do we actually want it to be, or do we want it to be a string?
Why don't we start with this refactoring first,
Okay.
right? Do the extract the constant, and I don't know. I think it's, regardless, do it in 2 steps. Whether or not we do the string next, for example, I don't know.
Okay. So then let's update the test now. And well, so for our maybe player has initial score of love test, right? We can, instead of 0, can we say the constant we created, constant love or something.
Oh, is that what you had in mind, Ben?
No, I was thinking, so we still want to call the, oh,
Sorry. Okay,
yeah, I
let
think
me
it
go back.
equal to constant love, because we still want to get the score.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, passes.
I think that looks good. What do you guys think?
Nice.
Nice.
Great. Good passing test. Great way to end the round.
Good stopping point.
Okay, so 2 minutes. Okay. Ben, what was it like being the navigator, the designated navigator?
It's good. It's like little more pressure, but you know,
Well, what was more pressure about it?
being up here maybe.
Oh, yeah, I just feel like, yeah, faster.
Oh,
Get yourself like a jacket with some double patches on it or something. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's fun.
Sharon, what was it like being the driver, being remote?
Actually, being a driver isn't as bad because your role is more listening and not like adding. So it's not so bad being a contributor as a driver online.
I thought it was nice having like other navigators though to like, you know, bounce ideas off of and stuff. It's like comparing to pair programming, just more people.
Nice, okay, other observations from the mob? How are you kind of clients? This is, what was,
I don't know. I feel like we need more time at the beginning. Just discussing it.
oh,
Maybe it's just me. I don't have
No.
a vision of how this is going yet.
I'm also a little curious, like, how the rest of the programs can pan out, like, is it gonna like wait for person input and be like, person one score, or is the program gonna ask like, who scored?
No,
Add points?
that's a good question, and, you know, it's funny, because my conception of this was that it will also be, you know, exercise and test room development. And we could do it that way, to me, I think it's, sort of more practical to focus on implementing the logic of it, not so much the interface to it, which would be like reading stuff, because we can do that afterwards if there's time. Cool, excellent. Awesome, okay, let's see here, who is the next, driver navigator? Yeah, we'll put that over here, let's see here, I guess Sharon, you'd be the next navigator, and John, are you up next? Okay, yeah. Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and just rearrange things so that oops. Then Sharon. Okay, and then no one else. Oops. Go do 2 rounds of this. Okay. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'm gonna sit up here because I can see the screen easier. You know, dark mode just doesn't work. I'm one of those people that I just like cannot read that. It's dark mode and my eyes are bad. Nope. Well, if everybody else can see it, that's fine. Although I don't know, how are the other people in the room? Is that big enough for everybody? The test is a little too small. Yeah, can you make that a little bigger? You can zoom in on television. Is it Control Plus? How is this not a thing? Yeah, oh, like pinch and zoom? Okay. Yeah, well, meanwhile, I will just do a quick how to zoom yeah. I control shift plus. Thank you. But and this is the great thing about mob programming, right? You know, someone can like go off and figure it out. Thanks, Katie. Totally awesome. Oh yeah, that's way better. Cool. Okay, so I'll put 7 minutes on, and so Sharon, where would you like to navigate first?
Yeah, so I would like to be able to add a score. So the first test is maybe player 1 wins the first point, and we assert that the score goes from 0 to 15. So you can get rid of my test that I started since I didn't use it.
This one?
No, the line 22. Yeah, you can, yeah. Yeah, there you can say 0, when first point score becomes 15, something like that.
And, player one. One, or the 15?
Yeah, it should return 15. Then we have to implement a method in the player class. Yeah, let's call it increase score. Yeah.
Should we play it?
Might
Call
have
it
to change it.
win? I mean, I don't know. So it's like increased score, you know, it doesn't sound very fluent somehow, but like wins? Well, and I got that from the name of the test.
Yeah. Oh yeah, wins a point.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah, like that. Like,
I feel like winning the game would be.
yeah.
And we'll implement this in the player. Yeah. So, no, I guess I'm gonna ask the mob how to do this. So the first point is easy. So it goes from 0 to 15.
I would recommend that we write the rest of the test first. Because we might forget where, you know, like where we left off. And don't worry, it'll fail.
True.
And then we'll know to go fix it. But yeah,
Okay,
I made
so
that mistake.
in-
It's like I lose my place and forget to finish the test.
All right, so we'll assert that player get score should equal to 15 for the first point, I guess. So does that sound okay to the team?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe, for the player, Smith score for the next question, man, there's only do.
It doesn't always implement by that though,
It doesn't always, okay.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
from 30 to 40 doesn't.
Yeah, good point.
We'll probably just do like,
Yeah, we'll stick with this.
The test, it somehow share that it was.
I think we should rename the test actually. When player with score 0. When the
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good idea.
What does the navigator think about that?
Yeah, I like that.
We should have another test in here before we update the point to a certain. Or your test,
I don't know. No, what do you think?
the test of already does that.
Okay, I think this test is nice and simple. So maybe we just go through the motion of going through all the way to 40.
Have we run this
Create
test yet?
Oh,
Okay. Well, I missed all that. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
passes. The next test is that when player has 15 points and wins a point, it should return 30.
Bit of that lapse test is valid.
No, say more.
I don't see where we're starting, like making sure the player object that we create, I don't see where we're making sure that it's 0.
It doesn't break at that test, but it's gonna break the rest of the time. It will break it. Yeah, break this
Right, this time?
time. It's already break it, it's similar to 40 test.
Oh, before.
But there isn't, okay, 15, 30, 40.
Yeah, this one, I guess. There was, I'd be more interested in. I want to see the 40 test.
Yeah, so when we do the next
then-
point, it's gonna break.
So somewhere in player, or actually, let's just, maybe be ready to change this test to player has 30 points, scores and score 40.
Like it'd be nice to have a player constructor that it's an argument, so we can
I like that.
player objects that specify score.
What do you think, Aaron? Should there be a player constructor that takes in the score? That's without having to follow the point. Well, construct the player with for 30. That's from 30.
Yeah, I can't hear really well, but I think maybe change this test to, since this is, we know it's gonna work. When player has 30 points, wins points, score is 40. And then we can fix, it's gonna turn red. And then we can change the player,
Great, sorry, time's
wins a
up.
point.
Stop.
Sorry.
Hands off keyboard. Nice, okay, good deal. Oh, thanks. Okay, well, John, if you can commit that, and then let's do a retrospective. Okay, cool. Oh, I like the way this is going. Okay, so yeah, where do we stand right now? What did you see this time? What was different? What was the same about this round?
I don't have an idea what I'll do, but I want the driver not.
Yeah, your time will come. What was that, Ben? Okay, yeah, ideas starting to form, right? Well, isn't it interesting? We were just talking before this round. We were like, I don't know what's next, I don't know what's going to form, and all of a sudden,
So I'm not super sure, like,
yeah.
when I should be chiming in, since Sharon's been out here.
Oh yeah, Sharon, how did you feel about the interaction with people in the room?
I think it was okay. It's just it is kind of hard to hear the room sometimes. So I mean, as a navigator, I need to hear everybody's thoughts, and that was difficult. But if I could, it was probably fine. I caught most of it.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yeah, so I don't know if it's a matter of projection or because yeah, I mean, John was like looking at his laptop and stuff, and so yeah. Correct. Cool. Okay. Awesome. So what did you think about the code that we wrote? Like, what were some observations about that? Okay, good. Yeah, ideas, things are starting to form. Okay, well, it is actually that'll be really interesting because it sounds like then the mob is starting to have like more and more ideas, and I think it'll be a challenge then for the navigator to then reconcile the ideas to start the driver on what to do.
It's really good because like something I struggle with is a lot of programming assignments it requires, so I was like, oh, well, you should do this, and someone else is like, no, it's not a requirement, and that's good. So I'm partner contract.
Yeah. Nice. Okay then. Great observations, everybody. Okay, so let's see here. John, you are the next navigator. Cameron, do you have the code already? You can please share your screen and then we'll kick things off. Yes, yeah, yep. Or just put the camera too. Really across the room. Right. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
So we rolling?
We are.
All right, I like your idea of making a constructor that takes points, or you could set points to something. So yeah, we'll make a new constructor for the player that has initialize the score field. I'm wondering though, it should probably take it should probably convert whatever arguments passed to it to a valid score. Sounds kind of complicated though, doesn't it? Like if you passed in a 12, it should be a 15 or.
Be a future test that we rate to make sure.
Mhm.
So you also pointed out another problem with magic numbers.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, we can also make const in here. Public static final constant score increment is equal to 15.
But it's not always 15, right?
Yeah, that's my problem with it. Yeah, so I guess maybe never mind on that.
I'm seeing some things around the IDE. What's it complete
Can I chime
Yeah,
in?
Yeah.
Is it possible we can make two constructors, one that doesn't require?
Yeah.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, you can do that. So yeah, just do another one that sets the score to 0. Is that technically necessary actually, because it's already set to 0?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be empty.
Yes, yeah, that would technically be correct.
Hmm.
You can also say, you can also have this constructor call the other constructor by saying this of constant of.
Oh,
You got options, but run your tests and see if it works.
Hold on.
yeah. Just make sure nothing broke.
Constant love sounds like a easy listening music album.
Yeah. That's all right. Got a battery.
So like, what's the next test that we want to write?
I want to see if player score is equal to 30, then it goes to 40. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, let's do that. So when player has 30 points, wins a score that is 40. I guess you could just change that one if you wanted to. So maybe since we have that constructor, we could do that. We could have the constructor set a player to have 30 points. Yeah. So we'll try that now and it should fail. Right, and so now in the wins a point, we'll just have a little if check to see if points is equal to 30, then set it to 40. Yeah,
Let's do like a distance school or it's global.
Either way, so I'm gonna do that.
yeah, you can do that if you want. Well, the other ones I didn't need to do that, didn't look like it, but it's not a big deal.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's test it out.
Anything?
I was just saying my original variable, I think I just
Nice.
declared I didn't like to credit it if we wanted to change that. That's
Oh, yeah.
we forgot to make it private.
Password.
Which one?
No, third class.
Oh, the score should be private? Yeah, it should be private.
Oh,
That's object oriented. Yeah. At this point, I am curious where to continue. Cause I feel like we've got,
ran the one test. I'm curious about the other tests.
did something break? Oh, yeah, let's just run all the tests real quick.
Nice.
I did notice a test that could be refactored, but I don't know if it's necessary. Just the recall wins point twice, you can just call it.
Hmm. Yeah. Isn't there also a thing where player can't have more than 40 points? Isn't that part of the requirements?
The game should end at 40.
Should end at 40, right?
It's always.
Oh, it's projector. That's the
Okay, what
projector.
does that mean?
There's a half projector.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think maybe just a third test, like, if player has 40 points, no more points.
Maybe we should start testing numbers, making sure they're valid, like values.
Awesome, good, well, we're at a good topic point, so, okay, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I don't, I'm using, stand up yet. Yeah, you can stay up there, you are the, yeah, so, what was like the
It was pretty good because I was really confident in Cameron, right? I was really confident in his ability to code, so I was just kind of being able to just throw nebulous ideas out there, and he was able to quickly translate those into code, and I didn't have to worry about telling him where to do it or how to do it. That's one of my favorite things about pair/mod programming, I think, is me just getting able to focus on concepts, and then someone else does all the finger typing.
Cameron's committee, other observations, other thoughts?
I'm just a little, I kind of like, maybe the time constraint is on my mind. I'm trying to want to go more in the direction of the broad goals of the program as opposed to the minutia of tests. Like, we have this constructor that takes points and we could make sure it takes a valid point, but I feel like that would take a long time where we have bigger fish to fry. So that's kind of the direction I want to go in. I think we can be pretty confident that a valid amount of points will be passed in our unit tests, because also I don't think people will be calling those constructors in the actual implementation of the program. Everyone just start at 0 and call the get or score point. Yeah. I guess these are just thoughts about the program.
Hey Sharon, how's your mom?
Yeah, I think it becomes easier as time goes by. Yeah. Maybe it's just like you get used to everyone has its own role.
This last round, did you feel you had an opportunity to contribute?
No, but I mean, I was listening and I mean things were moving. I like the fact that there's like refactoring going on as well as, you know, advancing the unit test. So that was very cool.
Okay, thanks, okay, let's see here. Cameron, you're navigating, I'm driving. Here you go. Oh dear. So let's pull down the latest code. And I'll start the timer. Okay, where should we start?
Just have all 3 files open.
Okay. What is this? Tennis test. Okay. And then also tennis. Nice. And I'll do the split screen things. I like that. Close, split, and move right. Okay. So, what's the next test that you'd like me to write?
I guess maybe some words. If we do it like touch cases, or do we just assume they will be done? We don't have to.
Like testing for creative recording.
I don't think I commit.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, did you push it, your commit?
Grade 40 is 15 touch for.
Try now.
That's to make sure, like, is it zero, if it's not 0, 15, 30, or 40, then it's.
That's weird. How did we not get changes in the last hour? Oh, I'm off on a blank screen. John, yeah, so I'm gonna pause this here. Okay. No, I don't think you did anything wrong. I think this camera hasn't made it back up yet. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Cool. I'm just curious for our own learning, like, was there stuff that you missed, or did you have like a branch or something, or? Fair enough. Cool. Okay. Sorry. So, what's the next test that we should write?
Sorry, what were you guys saying about the edge cases?
Make it really simple and say it's not 0, 15, 30, or 40.
No.
Like for a valid
No.
exception.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what should it do?
So,
Does what?
throws.
Throws.
No.
Yeah. May I recommend an illegal argument exception? Monsieur, yes. I'll be your exception concierge tonight. Okay, so let's see here.
So let's
Yep.
create a player object.
Yep.
To score 12.
Okay. Oh, and okay, and should this, calling this throw an exception?
Oh, yeah. So you're gonna.
Okay,
Throws.
nice. Import static, insert throws. And then let's see here. I expect it's going to throw in a legal argument exception. And what I want to do is new player. Oops, that's how it is. Nice. Okay. Okay, so then yeah, so if I go and I run this. Fail. Oh, my laptop's slower than yours is. Perhaps older than yours. Yep. It expected legal arguments are going to be thrown. Okay, so then hey, how do you want me to fix it?
Put this, it's going to.
Oh, it's a player class over there. Okay.
Change the first line, score, equal to 0. 15. So not equal to 0, so not equal to 15, not equal to 39.
Wait, or and.
Uh,
Sorry. That's probably bad driving on my part.
so, equal.
That's not recognized. Score. Nice. Sorry, I'm gonna make sure that all the other tests run. Yeah, okay. That's it. Yep, that was nice and fast. I'll stay on the wall so you can see it. Okay. What's next?
You're not able to score more than 40.
Okay. So then, player, well, let's see, when player has 40, and when player who has 40 scores, it's 40 points. Yeah, 40 scores. Or so wins, goes, yeah, wins a point. Wins a point. What should
I think
happen?
we should row, because
Oh,
we're gonna should have already
okay.
ended by this point.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's see here. I'll say player equals.
Somebody can only win if they have at least 3 points more than. Somebody could have 30 points, or they both could have 30 points, and then someone scores, one has 40 points, but they haven't won yet. Because you have to go over. Once you do it, both. That's what you see. I guess you could have one until.
Gonna make that 41 points, or whatever I think that is, like step number 4.
Yeah, both players have.
If they both have 30 and one person scores, and one person has 40 more scores than the person with 30, right? Isn't it? It's worth, right, about 8 or 10 so it comes to.
Yeah, so how does it, like, does it keep going past the 41, or like, so if they're at 40, let's say they're both at 40, then
You,
is the next person that wins just win or not? It's not that simple.
You're a domain expert.
so
Yeah.
if you can only win if if both players have 40, 40, then it's called deuce. And then if at that point, I guess according to the rules, a point, the one person can win a point and get something called advantage. And then, so basically you have to win 2 in a row to win. So I think we need to check if the other player has 40 to proceed with the next part.
Is deuce, sorry, is deuce a score of an individual or is it the score of the overall game across both players?
It is overall 40 is deuce.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe it would be valid, but we're at the end of the time box. So I am going to comment this out. So I'll test pass. Code. Nice. I'll run this and then I will commit. I'll say, okay. So while I'm doing this, I'll speak. So what was it like being a navigator?
I like that we have to like say every little detail about the throws, each of that one. Also with
My
like,
chat GPT. Yeah, what can I say?
yeah, also with like the output streams, I think it's helpful if I don't have to just say everything about it. So. I think it makes it feel better that way.
Nice. Other observations from the mod?
Everyone's back on the page. Um, So.
Getting stuck on the requirements.
when I couldn't proceed, I would just ask you guys, instead of just kind of doing that myself, I think that's helpful.
Aaron, any observations this time you'd like to share? Everything in chat. Oh, I like that observation of Sharon's. I think in mob programming, we take much more careful steps, we make less mistakes. Awesome, cool. So for people, so I think this should be the last round. I think you're all ready. You're certified. So for people who weren't in the mob, what did you think about the last hour? Okay then, excellent. So then it's time for a break. Let's take 10, come back at 7:17, and then we'll break into two mobs, one here in the classroom, one remote, and we'll work on a different kata. I'll kick it off, and then but you all will be doing doing mobbing. So yeah, I'll see you in 10. Hey everybody, welcome back. So, at the beginning of class, we get to experience here, you get to see some ensemble programming, and a number of people got to participate. Thank you again. Hope it was an enjoyable experience. Now everybody will get to be part of a mob. And so let's see here, we've got a handful of people in the room, and we got a couple of people who are remote. So we will now pursue another kata. It's called the Bank OCR kata. Now, OCR stands for optical character recognition. And so people of a certain age like know what that is. This is basically like the technology that can, okay, you guys know what a check is, they write out, right? And how there are numbers on it and everything like that. Or maybe a better example, better example is like, a letter with somebody's address on it. The way that letter gets routed to ultimately where it needs to go isn't that like somebody reads and said, oh, this goes in the mail bin that goes to to Beaverton or whatever. There's a computer that looks at it and is able to recognize those characters. And these systems have been in place for close to 40 years now, and of course they're getting better and better. But this kata is all about this. So basically, yes, it reads in letters and faxes. It's a little dated now. Basically, it receives input that looks like this. So these are just characters made up of spaces and underbars and pipes that look like numbers, right? It's an LCD display for your digital clock. The job of this program and what your kata does is it takes input that consists of numbers like these, some number of numbers. I guess let's see here. There are whatever that is, 9 characters in it, and so then there are 4 lines. I'll highlight it again. So 1, 2, 3. I guess there's only 3 here. 4. Oh, there's a new line, I guess. It has and 27, and each line has 27 characters. Oh, right. And the 4th line is blank. And so anyway, and so that it represents an account number. And so then given this input, your program should then be able to detect this account number from that. And that's where it starts. There's also there's some checksumming and things like that. I don't know if we're going to get that far. I think for tonight, let's just focus on this first user story. So, what you'll be pursuing with this kata is something that takes an input that looks like this. Again, 4 lines long, and has these numbers represented using pipes and underscores. Pipes and underscores. And then you'll get the number, where that is. 123,456,789. And let's see here, this is, and so then I created projects in the repository or this in the OCR. There are two projects, one for Mob 1, one for Mob 2. Let's have Mob 1 be here in the classroom. Mob 2 is remote people. Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, any questions about this kata in terms of what the expectations are that I can answer for you? So two projects, Mob 1 is here in the classroom, Mob 2 will be remote. I added the places for people to put their names in, so you can all do that. And let's see here, I will create a breakout room I'll create one breakout room for the, oops, sorry. Zoom, go back here. I want to create one breakout room. And one breakout room, and I'll let you all choose maybe at your own rate. Yeah, and so then let's create a breakout rooms. I'll put like 10 minutes on the clock, and then I'll start doing 10 minutes to everybody get all set and introduce themselves, and then we'll start the Pomodoros. Any questions? Cool. Okay. And then here in the room, I'll leave this up. I'm gonna pause the recording now. Okay. Hey everybody. So first experience is mob programming. So I was here in the room and got to observe the folks here. I'm really curious about the experiences for people who were remote though. So let's see, it's Katie, Sharon, and Natalie. You were mob 2. Well, we can read everything that you wrote here, but what are some of the things that you'd like to tell us in words? Like, so what are some of the sort of primary learnings that I had about tonight, and tell us about your experience with mob programming.
I'll go first. Actually with three, I'm sorry. Actually with 3 people, it didn't feel too much like a mob. Like when the first part of the class, when I was part of, I think it was 4 or 5 people, it was very different experience compared to paired, but with 3, it's close to a pair programming. But in any case, we, yeah, I think it definitely helps having more people to come up with test cases, because that's where you always start the kata, and the more brains, the better for brainstorming.
Thank you. Awesome. Hey, you're Natalie. Anything you'd like to share about your experiences tonight?
Not really.
Yeah, also not really. Although I will say that um, uh, I actually found that Git worked really well for us, um, working remotely, because like when I finished mine, I could just, Git push. But also like individually, when we completed a particular section and it worked, you could Git commit. That way, if we had managed to break something later on, we could have rolled back, which we didn't do, but if it had happened. So I found
Yeah.
that Git worked really well when you're remote programming.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Folks in the room. So there were 5 of you in your mob. What were your experiences like? What are some things that stood out as memorable, maybe good or maybe not so good?
I think the strength of modern programming is when it comes to collaborating on solving the core, like issue of the problem to be solved, and not so much the auxiliary things that go along with implementation style. I know for me, I think for training on programs, especially if you don't have so much time to do it, you just gotta really collaborate on those core issue. I think that would.
Other observations, folks? Oh yeah, talk about that. So I mean, people who are remote didn't get to see the whiteboarding. How did this mob leverage the whiteboard to do the pilot?
Yeah, so I'd say we were having trouble brainstorming ideas at the beginning, like figure out what to do, like some problem. So like coming up at the whiteboard and like drawing out ideas, that was really helpful to like get us all on the same page. So yeah, that was getting us going. I would say we didn't do it, but we should use the whiteboard more instead of just like
Yeah.
Some bigger picture.
And so yeah, I mean, so this team took an entire Pomodoro, kind of entire 7 minutes, hopping 7 minutes to work at the whiteboard. That was the second round, right? It was a very early learning that they had. They sort of started to code for 7 minutes, and they're like, we need to talk. It wasn't, not so much the code, it was talking. So they did a great job of that. Yeah. That sounds like, I think, yeah, there were probably a couple of points where in hindsight you realize like, oh yeah, we probably should have talked about that instead of staring at the code so much. Great. Other observations?
I like the, at the end, we had a nebulous. A whole string, a whole word of these array digits. That's probably, we should have gone back to like, drawn up what the thing looked like. Just kind of like, is it a big, a string, or just 3 strings with all numbers in it, or is it just gonna be a bunch of arrays? Is it gonna be an array of arrays? Like,
Yeah, I think what I observed in that final final round was there was no code break. There's probably a signal where it's like, oh wait, we gotta step back, right? I think we all started writing a test, and then it was like 5 solid minutes, and just like, oh, what do we do and how do we represent it, and everything like that. And so then I think maybe again, a good sign where it's like, okay, let's just do that for the next round. Forget about writing the code. Let's just realign and figure out where we want to go next. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Yeah. That's a great observation. And I think, and from what I recall, it's like the first round. It's like too, right? Because I mean, yeah, it was like I was covered all this like, oh, I got this idea, and it's that reconciliation of ideas. And so I think, yeah, it's a good learning where it's like, hey, just if that's what we need to do, let's just do it instead of sort of struggling trying to do something that we don't know how to do, or we're not quite ready to do yet because we haven't made decisions. Great. Fun.
Yeah, I think like often your point is like remembering that you can try something, if it doesn't work, you can do something else.
Yeah.
It's like something and you're like, no, stay on the track, but it's like try and see if it works.
Yep. Yeah, as I alluded to, for me, that's the power of time boxes, where it's like, and this is why mob programming does this. Same thing with pair programming, where you tend not to get stuck. And if you end up wasting your time, you're only wasting 7 minutes. I think it was really, I really enjoyed seeing how when a new navigator would take over, that person put their own spin on it. Sometimes it was just like, oh, let's continue on because I was just coding that. Now I've got some more ideas on how to do that. And other times it's just like, we're changing directions. I think this is the right way to go. And great, right? It's whatever fit the purpose, whatever is effective, whatever is the job done. Excellent. Any other thoughts? Okay then. Awesome. So that's it for tonight. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everybody's participation. Next week, we'll do another round of mob programming. And I encourage people who are remote to come to the classroom so you can experience here in the classroom. And similarly, if people who came tonight want to experience it remotely, please do that too. And then next week, we will start doing some Android stuff too. And so there'll be a big demonstration all about that. Looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Have a great week, everybody. Stay dry. I don't think it's pouring outside if you're in the classroom. If you're at home, it might have been a good call. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next time.